Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're doing another con review. It's been a little while, and we're doing the Calgary Expo that happened in 2017. And I couldn't do this without my podcast partner. Please welcome Cody, everyone.
Thanks for having me back, Chris.
All right, so 2017 Calgary Expo obviously took place in Calgary, and this is the con where I feel out of besides going on trips, like when we're talking specifically about cons within Alberta, this is the con we did the most outside of the con.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah, so like right away, I think this is not where I think this is where actually the Great Walk was invented, actually. So we met up, went for a walk, went to the keg and everything that year, and then I think on the like Wednesday or like early Thursday morning, we went out to the Telus Spark, I believe it's called.
yep.
Yeah, and then we went to the Star Trek little exhibit they had there, which kind of timed out perfectly with the expo.
Yeah, that was a fun little pre-con event we did there with the Star Trek at the Telus Telus Spark.
Yes, what do you really remember from the actual Telus Spark and the Star Trek exhibit?
I remember how terrible the what was it, speaking Klingon,
Yeah.
and like it wouldn't pick up anything, so you just kept saying it and he just kept telling you to repeat it.
Yeah,
I,
it was pretty bad.
it was
Um,
embarrassing.
I remember taking a picture about like the on the crew or whatever, and
Yeah.
yes, it was definitely really good. I enjoyed it. It was like taking a bridge photo or whatever, and then we did a little couple of videos with like the phasers and everything. It was a lot of fun. The thing I remember most is they had like a what's it called, like a merch shop for specifically for Star Trek there, and I had the
Yeah.
best coffee mug, and I have never been able to find a better coffee mug. And like I like drove over it, like it dropped out of my car, and I didn't notice it one day, and I drove over it, and I've been pissed since.
Oh, yeah, I remember that because you were calling around to try and find a replacement. I think you even called the Telespark back and asked them if they had that mug still.
Yeah, and I was gonna get you to go and pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I also remember going to a bar on one night. You made a very brief appearance, but you kind of got busy and you weren't able to make it. Do you remember like you giving me your keys, I think it was, and then I just like came in like super drunk at your place at like super early in the morning. I don't know if you're already passed out by that point.
I do remember that. And I also remember when you went, my sister was there and you got like the death stare from her boyfriend at the time.
Oh, right. Yes, I remember that because I showed up like you couldn't make it, so I was just okay, I'll go there. And none of my friends were there yet, and your sister was there. So I walked over there and then saw your sister, and I walked up to her to her, and man, the like boyfriend being super protective, think I was just like trying to pick her up and everything, and then like she just turned around and was like, "Hey, Chris," and then he like immediately like let go his shield, I guess is the best way to word it.
Yeah, that's pretty funny that happened.
Yeah. So
So
like
awkward.
yeah, it was super awkward. So then we also went to the parade in Calgary Expo. They always have a parade on the Thursday right before the con starts. And this is I went in 2016 with Mark, but this is the first time and only time that me and you went.
Yeah, I that was the first time I ever went, and I remember we found a seat after we got our Timmies, and we were waiting for it to start. And I remember just being miserable and complaining to you the whole time how it was cold. And then what was it? Like these children showed up like right beside us, and they're like jumping around in front of us, and I was just not having it. I was like, control your children.
Yeah, it was just a pretty funny situation altogether. So yeah, I don't really remember anything else we did in Calgary itself because I think then on the time the actual con started, because we went to the bar on the Saturday night and then the Sunday I just left home. So Again, it was just like more of stuff we actually did within Calgary rather than just like go for a quick walk, go to the keg kind of thing, and then go to the con, right? So the con itself, what do you remember about the layout of this con?
Well, they changed what was it, the whole photo op, uh, placing it again, and it was always a revolving door for that. They just
Yeah.
changed it every year, and it's like, just make up your mind on what's the best.
Yeah, I do remember this was still Emily Expo, and every year it was just a very different layout, especially with the photo ops. So, like the previous year in 2016, it was in the Agricom building or whatever it was called. This one was like deeper in the Agricom building. You actually had to go into the actual Agricom building, and there was a very like to wrap around to get to the lines. There was a very narrow hallway, but then you had
Yeah.
like tons of people. So like there was a lot of space to have just its own building for a photo op, but that like to get to the line, you have to go through this narrow hallway that just got would get really like jam packed.
Yeah, I remember how bad it was when I think the worst was I don't want to spoil anything yet, but there was two photo ops that happened and it was just utter chaos. And it I thought it worked up until those two photo ops and it was just like a complete disaster.
Yeah, I think it was a more of a comment on scheduling and everything. Like it could have worked, but then they scheduled like I think it was even more than two, if I recall. It was like back to back to back to back. You had like four of their like high profile guests there that we'll get into within a row, and of course some like communication errors that happened along the way. So and then the rest was your basic in the big four. You had your artist alley, and then below you had the food courts, and then the BMO Center was just vendors. So speaking of vendors, do you remember buying anything or anything like that?
I honestly don't remember buying anything. It might have been the year that I bought a Spider-Man. I think I was buying a Spider-Man comic shirt. Was this the year we bought those comics?
No, this I think that actually was just the most recent Calgary Expo pre-pandemic. I think we did that in
Oh,
2019 actually. But yeah, I do remember this con just like yeah, I didn't buy anything, I don't think. Actually, I did buy a big shirt, and I do remember having like a life-size like bag that was like a big like it was
oh
like a
yeah.
Star Trek or Star Wars movie poster that I would just like throw around my shoulder, and it was literally the size of like me basically.
Yeah, you wore that thing out until the straps came off.
Yeah, man, I think it was awesome because it was so big that you can just throw like coats in there and everything, right?
Yeah, I think we were pretty tapped out for spending money at this con because we had so many photo ops and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely was a big year for photo ops and everything. So perfect time to start talking about the guests. So, among some of the guests, we had like James Marsters. What's his name from Game of Thrones, Hodor or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had Cole Meany, we had Todd McFarlane, who had a very interesting like structure, which we'll get into. Billy D. Williams, Peter Capaldi, Kevin Smith, and Jason Mewes, so Jay and Silent Bob. Um, Jeremy Renner was there, Stan Lee was there, Nathan Fillion was there. What's his name? Tick, the guy from Family Guy, Patrick
Oh, Patrick was it
Warburton.
Warburton? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Then you had Nathan Fillion, I think I said that, and then you had the two people, the two girls from Flash, the one girl that plays Iris, and the other one that plays like, what's her name? Killer Frost, scientist girl. I don't remember her character's name. So that was a pretty big layout. Do you remember anybody else that was there?
No, I think you named all the big ones.
Just looking at a list now, we also had Steven, Buddy from Walking Dead, who played
Yeah,
Steven, how do you pronounce it?
Ian.
Eon,
Yeah.
yeah. He had Kevin Sorbo. Let me see.
Did
Uh,
you say De Williams from
yeah,
Star Wars?
Billy D. Williams, yeah. Daniel Hannah Baker's, who was the
Yeah.
scientist chick. Um, yeah, so that seems to be about all the big lists, big name people there. We had two people that canceled that were really big, which was because remember at the time CW was the DC CW was massive. So you had the Tom Canavana or whatever, the guy that plays
Yes.
Reverse Flash, but he canceled. And then you also had Miley Bobby Brown, who's like 11 in Stranger Things, and she canceled last minute, and that was a huge cancellation.
Yeah, I remember her canceling like all the Fan Expo appearances. She canceled a bunch.
Mhm. Yeah, that was a pretty massive cancellation. Kind of bummed that we never got that, but it is what it is, kind of thing. So meet and greet wise, who did you all meet specifically without us together, and what do you remember about that?
I remember, well, we got, what was it? Um McFarlane just before we got separate photos, but I remember him being super chill and fun to hang out with. You know, he wasn't rushing or anything, and it was what free we got free autographs with him.
Who is this again?
Uh, was it Todd McFarlane?
Todd
The
McFarlane. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I remember. He had a very different structure where like he didn't do pro ops, it was only at the booth, but he had like a backdrop in on the other side of his booth, and he would only do autographs and then he would only do photos, and you had to
yeah,
go to two different times, which was like a little annoying. I remember at the time us being annoyed by it. It's like, well, I'm here now for the autograph. Why can't I just snap a quick selfie? But yeah, I do remember the photo ops were fun, and had a nice little interaction with yourself. Also on the Thursday, if we go chronologically on the Thursday, we just did a couple. We did three photo ops on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, I think it was just a Thursday, and the that we did, I did James Marsters randomly, just because you never know if I ever end up watching Buffy and I wanted to meet him. Then met Horador, and Game of Thrones was still like larger than life. Kind of all comes around because now Game of Thrones is still larger than life. And then we had Comini that we met.
yeah, yeah. Other than that, you know, we essentially got all the it was just our group photo ops, really. I didn't really get too many out of place. You definitely got more solo photo ops.
Yeah, the only one solo photo op I got, which was Peter Capaldi, and
Yeah,
I do remember at like I don't remember the exact times, but it was like um Kevin Smith was supposed to be, and Silent Bob was supposed to be at like I can't remember the exact time, like supposed to be at 6, but then they rescheduled him to like 4, but they didn't tell Kevin Smith that they rescheduled him.
yeah.
So
So
I had Peter Capaldi at 3. It was supposed to be Kevin Smith at 4, but he didn't show up till 6. Then we had Jeremy Renner at like 5, and then we had Stan Lee at like 6:30, and it was just a massive nightmare during that entire frame because those were your four big like hitters, right?
yeah, that was a disaster when they were like, no one told them, and it's like, who's running the show?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I also remember I had a vape in my pocket, and then the button was going off, and it was like the entire time, so it like
Oh
overheated in my
yeah,
pocket. Yeah. Um so yeah, I do remember meeting Billy D. Williams, and he was just sitting there, and um we just kind of did Star Trek poses, which was kind of fun.
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and then yeah, with Jay and Silent Bob, they were really nice. I do remember that when we did get to meet him and stuff, shook his hand a couple of times and everything. So I was very happy about that. It's always one of those photos where it's kind of an awkward photo though, where they were on the edges and we were in the middle, and then we just kind of didn't bother to put our arms around our shoulders, and then we were dressed to the nines for some reason.
Don't know why, but
Yeah, it was definitely a hilarious photo in hindsight. I think it was all because of the next photo up, which was Jeremy Renner, who was again a very solid guy for how busy he was. You know, he took the time to like shake everyone's hands, and we had a photo op with just you, me, and it wasn't just you, me. There was four of us in total.
Yeah, yeah, no, that went really well, I think, when we did that. Especially during kind of, I was like, not peak Marvel, but it was pretty high up there during his career, and to be able to, that was at Emily Expo, grabbing a great guest to really hype everything up.
Yeah, that was like the first really big, like, here's one of the actual Avengers, not somebody within the MCU.
Yeah.
Um, like that was pretty huge. And yeah, this was 2017. So like this would have been right after Avengers, Age of Ultron, I believe. So he already had a few movies in there and everything. And yeah, like his photo autograph line was packed the entire time. And they even put like what's the word I'm looking for? Like things so you couldn't even take a picture on the side of him getting the autographs, which people
Oh
like to
yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then we got Stan Lee, and Stan Lee was cool. He obviously was tired. He was like 90. This is like now must have been 92 or 93 here. And yeah, this was like concluded this Saturday, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. We did that Saturday.
Yeah, so I already met Stanley, and I know you were never much on like comics as a whole. So like, what was the meeting Stanley like for you?
I mean, it was pretty cool, like the interaction was brief, and I didn't expect him to say anything, but I definitely don't regret meeting him, for what he created and
Yeah,
what it is
absolutely.
now.
Yeah, for sure. And then I believe on the Sunday we had the four photo ops, which was Patrick Warburton. And earlier in the con we met Nathan Fillion got his autograph, and then this time we got a photo with him or whatever. And then we did the two. We'll jump into the other two before, but any memories of meeting Warburton and Fillion?
Well, I met Billion a couple years prior, so that was, I guess I just jumped in just for the sake of. Uh, Patrick was, I remember being pretty amped up to meet him, but yeah, nothing really, I would say, memorable about it, but just your generic photos.
Yeah, for sure. I think with Filion, I just bought a random Filion photo and I didn't have any real necessarily desire to meet him, but Filion is a pretty big actor, especially around these parts. And like, he's always going to be relevant. He's always has some kind of work lined up. So it was just like a matter of time until there was like, not to mention Firefly, I think, yeah, well, that was the name of the show. And there was everything else he's been in. So it's like, okay, I'll take this opportunity to get the photo. And then you just decided to pitch on later. And yeah, it was what it was with him, right? His line
Yeah.
was packed. I remember you underestimating the size of his line.
Yeah, I remember it being, I think when I met him the first time I went to the expo, I think there was like, I think he sold like 450 photo ops. So I don't know why I'd be surprised. And that was years prior to,
Mm-hmm.
from Edmonton.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Nathan
Edmonton
Fillion's
boy.
huge. Well, he is, yeah, he's a Burton, right? There's even in Edmonton temporarily there was the Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion named after him. So then we met the two Flash actors to conclude the con, and I remember it was very quick, and I remember you being a little upset with the actress who plays Iris.
Ah, yes. The
Yes,
worst.
and that was where she just kind of like didn't even bother to say hello or anything.
Yeah, didn't even like have the time to like look at us. And I
Yeah,
remember her she was like a last minute addition, and
yeah,
she was
she's the
the
one
first.
that is she replaced specifically. She replaced Tom Cavanna or whatever, like Reverse Flash.
Yeah, I remember her being in, I think she was announced, because you know how we were having those special Friday guests and we were waiting and nothing happened. And then I think they added her on the Friday, but it didn't count because they canceled Tom Cavanna the
Yeah,
same time. So it didn't, I think this is the first year they didn't do that like surprise guest.
yeah, it was just more of a coincidence that they just were
Yeah.
like, hey, well, we're not bringing in Tom, but here, let's bring in another Flash actress anyway. So yeah, any other concluding stories about the meet and greets or celebrity interaction?
I just remember being burnt out that Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even remember even going to any panels or anything this year on this year at all. Like maybe there was, but yeah, this con was kind of a weird con. There was no real big like I guess there was you had a lot of big guests, but there was no like real theme or anything to it. Like you did have, like I said, anytime Stanley comes, he's going to be big. But then you also had Jay and Silent Bob. Oh no, I think they had the Jay and Silent Bob paid panel on like the Friday night or whatever, and you didn't even need to buy an expo ticket or whatever.
Right.
All
Yes.
right. Yes. So yeah, that was really about the meet and greets and everything like that. What do you remember about cosplayers specifically, or just any other stories about the Calgary 2017 Expo?
Uh, I mean, I remember us just like walking between the agro.
AgriCom.
Yeah, I remember walking through that building in the BMO Center constantly. I
Hmm.
remember just being so clustered with like people trying to get into either building and then like tons of cosplaying happening outside. And it was just always like chaos. And then we were trying to like, you know, take photos of the cosplay and then going to like the big four and like the food lines being disastrous. I
You
just
know,
remember,
actually, I do remember going to a couple of panels on the Sunday. We went to because there was nothing to do in the morning, so we decided to go to both the Patrick Warburton panel and the Todd McFarlane panel.
oh yeah, I remember the Todd McFarlane panel, and that's when he told us the Spawn movie was coming soon. And it's been how long? 5 years?
Yeah, I mean it is 2022 now. This was 2017, and yeah,
We're
still no
coming up to 2023. At least we know who the actors are, but I mean, it's been kind of quiet.
It kind of reminds me of with The Rock's upcoming movie Black Adam, where I was doing a project on DC recently, and he was casted as Black Adam in September 2014, man, and it's like almost 2023, right? So like almost 9 years since being originally casted as
Oh my
Black
God.
Adam since the project started. I remember your sister dressed up as cosplayed as chick from the Suicide Squad, the main villain,
Uh,
Ench-
yeah. What was her
Enchantress or something like that.
Enchantress? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good cosplay. And then I do remember there was one cosplay that really stuck out was if you play the Mass Effect series, there was somebody dressed up as I think his name was Rex, Wrex, big like turtle race people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like a really good cosplay. So the cosplay in this, it was still lively here. And I think this might have been like this was the last Emily Expo you went to. Because I think I went to the Edmonton Expo and you never went to the Edmonton Expo, but then by the time Calgary 2018 happened, we were at Fan Expo, and that was the first Fan Expo year.
Right. So well, yeah, this was the end for Calgary.
Yeah,
Emily.
yes, so definitely a good experience and everything with the MLA Expo as a whole, and we'll get into the fan expos later. So, what about the actual? How does this market like? How does the Calgary 2017 Expo compare to the modern fan expo in Alberta experience?
I still think it holds up. They had some pretty big guests. It was CW kind of, I don't want to say CW heavy, but they had quite a bit of CW people. And I still think the overall feeling of the expo is still pretty high, with it's pretty positive. Cosplay was in full effect. I think it
Yeah,
was I think it was a great year, even if I think with each year we started going to the cons, our expectations kept going up and it started to become harder to live up to the hype. But I still think it was a pretty strong year they did.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You look at all the cancellations, and there's definitely some big cancellations. But then you look at like still those names. There was still like a sheer amount of guests. Like the fact that we got like 3 or 4 photos on the Thursday, and then we had photos on the Friday, and then like it kept us busy all weekend long, right? So it was there wasn't like much of like, okay, let's wait for 4 hours, right? Like, so that's the big thing. And I really think this is what one thing that they excel, Emily Expo excelled at, is giving you enough guests to kind of keep you busy for the entire con instead of just like, okay, yeah, I can only go one day, and if I go 2 days, I'm just going to be bored, right? Um,
Yeah, we were
yes,
we were literally exhausted by the Sunday from everything we were doing.
exactly, right. And then, which is also in conjunction with everything else we did in within the actual con itself. I remember like drinking on the Saturday night and then waking up 6, 7 in the morning for the con on the Sunday, right? And then
Yeah.
having a 3 hour drive. So that's that. So in terms of a ranking, I actually forgot to post the list. So I'll post it on the screen now, but I got a couple of them. I know you, I believe you, we have the Calgary Expo 2015 for you as an S tier. Edmonton 2016 was sorry, Calgary 2016 was B tier for you, and then Edmonton Expo 2015 was B tier also. And I don't remember where you ranked the Edmonton 2016. It might have been an A. I don't remember. Could have been an A tier, but besides the point, where do you rank the Calgary 2017 Expo?
I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball. I think I'm going to rate this expo as a C rank.
As a
Uh,
C rank. Wow.
yes, I'm going to hit it a little lower just because it kind of, just from the prior years, I started to feel that fatigue. You know, there wasn't really too much new. I know that's kind of biased to say for an expo, but certainly not the best con, but certainly not, um, it wasn't like for everything we did outside of the con was I almost say was more enjoyable, but yeah, I don't know. I'd give it a C. It was still a lot of fun. Like just because it's a C doesn't mean it was a bad con, but
For
just
sure.
thinking about what's coming up too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like you definitely hit some major points. Now, I guess we're rating the con, we're not rating the trip, right? So if we're also including like the telespark and the partying and everything like that, I would probably rate it like the keg and all that. I'd probably rate it a like higher myself, right? Probably like, but if we're just looking at the con itself, and we know that certain cons are coming up that will blow us away. Plus, at this point, we were going to 2 or 3 cons a year for a while, and Emily Expo was kind of a lot of cancellations, and then nothing that specifically spoke to you. For me, there was some big guests, and but how they handled the photo op situation definitely loses points from there. I don't want to give it a C because I know what's coming also, right? So like when Fan Expo takes over, I'm gonna have to give some of these even D's, right? But I'm gonna probably have to give this one a B, I think, and I think I'm content with that.
yeah, I was on the fence of a B, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So C and a B. So not the best expo, but yeah, we still had fun. It's not
Oh yeah,
about fun; it's comparing it to the other cons, right?
yeah. That's what I'm trying to get at was regardless of how much fun, it could have. It's definitely one of the more fun cons we've had. But in terms of like the guest lineup and like the vendors and everything, it was definitely lesser for me, I guess. Even with like Jeremy Renner being
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. So, any closing statements you want to say?
no, just looking forward to the next con review.
Yes, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll check you guys in the next video.